So the kind folks over at Disney and 20th Century Fox sent me over an early screener for their film SWIPED that's going to be hitting Hulu and Disney if you have that combo pack on September 19th. Big thanks to them for sending me over an early screener. I honestly hadn't heard of this film, nor had I heard about the real story that it was based on, as the film focuses on the character of Whitney Wolfe, who's played by Lily James, and essentially tells the story of how she was part of co-founding Tinder, eventually found herself in a toxic, harassment environment, and eventually would go on to create Bumble, who's of course a big competitor to Tinder, and of course deals with a lot of the controversy and a lot of the harassment and the misogyny and different things like that were going on behind the scenes that led to that move. And going into it, I really wasn't familiar with the story here whatsoever, so I do think it was interesting on that level. There's a tech element to this tech startup element to this film that I thought was interesting, but there's also this other story of kind of, female empowerment and just empowerment in general, standing up for what's right, standing up against misogyny or workplace harassment. I think that's something that we know is happening in the world, and I was kind of worried as the movie was playing out if this was just going to be like a guys suck kind of movie, but I do think that the film does a good job of having some nuance there, and at the end of the day, highlighting something that's seriously wrong while not necessarily vilifying everybody in the story or one side over the other entirely, though the film is very much put through the lens of Lily James, and specifically with her being the victim and the hero of this story. So, some of the characters at Tinder who are the bad guys in this film at a certain point are definitely depicted as the bad guys. But yeah, this is a film that opens up, and at the very end of the film, right before it goes into credits, lets you know that because the main woman, Whitney Wolfe Herd, who this film is based on, is under an NDA, she wasn't able to actually be a part of this film in any way or talk about what happened at all. So this film does dramatize and fictionalize things. It makes it very clear about that at the very beginning of the film and the end of the film, despite the fact this is based on true events and actually uses the same name of the woman from the real life story. But yeah, I thought this was an interesting film. I don't think this is the kind of biopic that is going to be, getting awards consideration by the time we get closer to the Oscars, but I think Lily James is solid in the film. And I would say my biggest issue with this film genuinely is that while I think it's a well-made biopic, it's the kind of film that oftentimes feels like you're getting cliff notes as a story because it's jumping months or sometimes years ahead of time in its story, which has you jumping around, and character development, character dynamics, character relationships are getting better or worse, and sometimes so abruptly that you never really feel like you're sinking your teeth into the journey. It feels like you finish this movie and you know the story. You can walk away saying, hey, I went through a story here, but you don't necessarily know if you went on that journey with the characters. And so outside of Lily James, I can't really say I was connected to anything else, but I do think that the film is interesting to watch.